we know that the quality of the discourse has been continuing to go down. We know that the conversation surrounding trans people and probably also gay people is going to continue to get more and more acrimonious. They've been calling us groomers and pedophiles for a while now. We've been saying for a while on this channel that this is the lead up to genocide. Like, the way that you're speaking about trans people is indicating that you want there to be fewer trans people. You kind of want there to be no trans people ideally, but certainly if there are fewer trans people, then that would be amenable, which means that that's a genocidal policy, you know? One of the ways that this happens is through interpersonal violence. We've talked about this, and we are also kind of, in a way, sort of manufacturing consent for hatred against trans people by calling them groomers and pedophiles. Like, if you continue to reinstate the idea, first of all, that a pedophile is the same thing as a child molester, or is like just a child molester in waiting, then that means that anyone who could potentially have those type of feelings is a danger to children and is worthy of death. So that's kind of where this all starts. It all starts with the idea that these people are harming children. Then you start associating trans people with harming children and pedophilia, and you end up by proxy saying that, like, these are groups of people who it's okay to be violent toward. Like, everyone agrees that a child abuser, is a terrible person and should be punished horrendously. And a lot of people have a very violent, vindictive, like, I'm going to hurt these children. So then, like, extrapolate that into anyone who has a paraphilia, any kind of paraphilia, whether it's specifically for children or not. And then you start calling trans people, oh, you're autogynephilics, that's a paraphilia. Then you see the justification for violence against us. It's just really interesting to see how it's actually starting to play out. Like, the rhetoric is actually, we're really seeing this rhetoric start to play out. Yeah, there would be no trans people ideally. Luxander 2023. Yeah, neat. And of course, we also know that Twitter has been in decline. It is a platform in decline since Elon Musk purchased it. Things are getting worse. The language is getting more harmful. And we had this tweet from Jake Shields saying, of course, blue checks, would you support public executions of anyone who helps a child transition? This would include doctors, therapists, teachers, guidance counselors, etc. It's interesting because tucked away in that etc. is the parents, because parents will help children do a transition. Yeah, Nazi shit. And then a bunch of blue checks commented, I would settle for us putting an armband on those who introduced it into the culture, something to identify them with. Thumbs up. Yes, yes, yes. All these people support execution for anyone who helps a trans child get the medical care that they need. No, because children shouldn't witness death. I'm down with PPV though. What is PPV in this instance? For some, I know it doesn't mean penis, vagina, but that's what I think it means. This person says, I would gladly volunteer as the executioner. Oh, pay-per-view. Oh, okay. Yeah, they shouldn't be publicly executed, I guess, but on pay-per-view, that's fine. Okay, yeah, sure. See, again, as we were just discussing in our segment about like Zoe Zephyr and all that, like that there is a connection between capitalism and fascism, like that capitalism would profit directly off of pay-per-view sales of fascist executions of trans people and the doctors that help us get transition care. So some other person says I volunteer to be the executioner. Public execution is kind of wild. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying that's some wild shit to throw out there. Then again, so is changing your gender. So IDK, absolutely, says this person. So that's some crazy shit that is just being said on Twitter. Now, the original tweet where Jake Shields said, would you support public executions of trans people? That tweet has been deleted for quote unquote violating Twitter rules, presumably, but the account is still up. Jake Shields' account is still up. And I think that actually there's another tweet where he was making a similar question in February. That tweet is still up. I'd have to go look for it though. But what's interesting is that screenshots of these tweets seem to be being censored. Like this tweet right here, Alejandra has these ones, like these ones are showing up, but this one is not showing up. The entire reply section is full of Twitter Blue users saying trans people and their allies should be executed. And like these images will just not load. These are pictures, these are screenshots of those tweets, and they're being censored. These images are not loading. Look at this. Images are just not loading. Similar thing over here. Same screenshots, like not loading, just not there. So it's interesting how not only is there like a growing fascist contingent apparently on Twitter, or at least a more outspoken fascist contingent. Yeah, and then we report so many of these people, and Twitter straight up says they aren't violating conduct rules. And then Twitter goes so far as to censor, because I guess like you can't see your product Twitter Blue being associated with calls for executions, I suppose. Is that something that Elon wanted to do, or is that something that his one remaining HR person told him to do? Please censor this so that there aren't screenshots circulating of our Twitter Blue users calling for the public execution of people who are simply existing and, again, supporting transgender children. Internet broken for violating TOS. Please try fascism again. Yeah, Mama Mephistopheles says, I spent all day trying to figure out why I couldn't see the images on one particular tweet. Yeah, they're hiding information about it. Like, they're deliberately censoring it. At this point, Elon just needs to admit that Twitter doesn't want trans people on it so we can leave. I mean, he's doing the same thing that any shitty boss does. And sometimes, like, shitty people in your life will do this to you too. You create a hostile environment. Like, you're too much of a coward to actually come out and say we're banning trans people for being trans on the platform. You just have to create a hostile environment so that they will leave. I would bet you that Elon uses this tactic as a boss as well. Like, I mean, now that he's super powerful, mega powerful at Twitter, he just fires people straight up. But at companies where he doesn't have full unilateral power, I would bet that he just creates hostile environments with people until they absolutely just need to leave. A hostile echo chamber. Yeah, precisely. Yeah, I don't have a lot more to add on that, but that's crazy shit. I haven't really found an exact like replacement for Twitter. There's like 4,000 followers that I have on Twitter, so it is going to be a loss of platform if I shift off of it. But it's, you know, all my tweets are all super throttled anyway, so what does it matter? It's gonna be May. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. I want to especially shout out this month Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvog, Danielle McDonald, Amanda B, Athiette, Spooky Heather Sylvia, Sarah A, Wellington Marcus, Michelle Winter, Desi Quiche, Jamie Jam, Suzanne Maynard, Mr. Atheist, Elizabeth Bartell, Kevin Young, Nova, and Sojo.